I do with the kids that need the extra help is I have small group activity that is done after the regular whole group lesson. I pull back those children who need extra help and give them more of a one-on-one and a repeat of what we've done. They just don't seem to be able to take it all in and handle the large group and the pace that we're on when I'm talking to the whole entire group. So they get more intense and individualized help at the table. 2 or 3, maybe 4 or 5 kids sometimes get that extra help. And then I allow the students that need extra help to use a calculator on math tests, and then they also get the test read to them, where the other students have to read it themselves. These children get the test read to them, and it helps them understand the vocabulary in the test, and then that takes care of a lot of their problems that way.
Has it seemed to help?
Oh yes, to have it read to them and then use the calculator.
And so if they are slower at hand motor skills, learning how to write and stuff, you can, do hand over hand, and then tracing, with a highlighter their name, and then they trace it. And another thing that I found that is very helpful is like rhymes, letting them know that, their letters always start at the top, and, teaching them top from bottom. That was one of the things I made a big mistake, is I was trying to teach them to always start from the top, and finally this little boy looked at me and said, "What part's the top?" Because he didn't know top from bottom. So, that's important to teach, all those skills that maybe they haven't learned before they got to school.
I had a student, Colin, who was my Asperger's student as well, and he had a really hard time in music class, which was one of my core subjects. And so he would play dead when it was time to sing or dance. He would just flop down on the floor because he didn't want to be in that at all. He didn't want that to be part of his school. And he would just lay down on the floor like he was dead. And so I had to start doing things to get him to participate where he felt comfortable and where he would be able to handle it, because I think with his disorder he really wouldn't have been able to handle it. He would have freaked out. So I would set him off to the side, and sometimes I could get him to do it. He would sing but not dance, so I would sit him in a chair and just let him sing, or he would do the arm motions and not have to do anything else. So just giving him a couple of simplified instructions where he would be able to handle it a little easier, or giving him a musical instrument where he felt like he was participating with the rest of the class. So lots of little things like that. And with art as well, telling him you don't have to do, because I would give them instructions and he would want to draw spaceships or something. So I'd say, okay, you need to draw spaceships, but still use Van Gogh's technique, even though you're not drawing Starry Night or whatever. So just giving him his own individualized instructions.
Very good.
For helpful.
Awesome. Do you have any
like that?
Did you do anything for your gifted and talented students?
I always had in my math program an extra thing for them, where there was a bonus question, and they were pretty hard. Like I had to look them up online. Sometimes they were hard questions, but some of those kids really took those because they were done with the math fast, and then they had something to really think about. And we also did like those. I can't think of what they're called. They're like the puzzles where they have deductive reasoning puzzles and things like that. So just bonus questions for them, as well as because I taught social studies and art and music, and there's a lot of things that kids can do by themselves. So a lot of times when we would do a project, I would allow for three different kinds. So I could say, you could do this one, and this is the requirement, but if you want to have a challenge, this is the requirement, and if you want to have a real challenge, for my best artists, or my, my most, whoever is looking for the biggest challenge, you can do up here. So I think just the assigning 3 different tiers was helpful a lot for them, for the gifted and talented, so they could have something to shoot for, especially if they were going to be done super fast.
Well, I try to remember that all students have needs, and children with special needs might have more learning needs, but I try to think of it as, okay, they have academic needs, I have other kids that have these needs, so how can I best meet all of those? And with my students with special needs, I would often just try to, like, once I got everybody doing something independently, go work one-on-one with them, or pull them into my small groups where it was a little easier. Sometimes it's easier for them to open up, work with them that way. And so remembering that everybody has needs, and theirs tend to be a little more academic, so working with it that way.
All right, wonderful.
Another one is for math. Find something that they're interested in. And I had one little boy who he wouldn't count. You know, he would not roll count. He would not, count at all. And so I started he loved bugs. So we started getting a bug book, and we started counting the bugs in the bug book. And that got him to learn how to count because he loved to count. So another one is I worked with kids, and sometimes they're really into the computer. So you can teach them things in computer programs that you can't seem to get their attention otherwise. And I don't know if it's because, with the headphones on, they totally eliminate all the sound around them or what it is. But, so those were some of the tricks that I used to try to get kids to, be able to learn the curriculum.
And one specific success story that I had just recently is a little guy named Preston, where he was on math especially, finished maybe 1-2 questions out of 20 on the test. He just couldn't seem to do them. So he would finish one and then just sit there most of the time, not having any success at all. Well, after I read the test to him and let him use the calculator, and then had him back so he had individualized help, he actually got 100% on the test. And it was the first time he'd ever had anything like that happen. And all the children in the class knew about his struggles, and so I announced, Preston got 100% on the test. And there was cheering and clapping and high fives and hugs all around, and I think it was like one of the best days of his life. And so that was really fun.
Was that recently?
I attempted to split my math groups because we talked about that a lot in school, and I was talking to my team, and we decided that would be a good thing. And I let the parents know, and then we split the groups. And I think one of the hardest things, there was too many kids in the lower group. We probably had 30 kids in each class, and there were 15 in the good class and at least 45 in the lower class. I shouldn't say the good class. The higher group, that one that was doing extensions, and then the ones that needed correctives was quite a large class. And to manage all of those students together was very, very difficult. And also we had lots of self-esteem issues with splitting them, because there were kids who felt like they were in the dumb class, and they weren't willing to just focus on getting better at math. They were so worried about who they were sitting next to. And then the parents got involved, and it was a huge disaster. And I had heard so many success stories, I thought it would be super easy. So I think if I was going to do that again, I would need to do some extensive planning and maybe get a little bit of help. I think it would be really nice to have maybe some parents involved or something like that, because that was very, very hard. That was probably my biggest upset in all of my teaching career, splitting those math classes.
All right, 2 things. One, I know a lot of times when we get out of school, we want to quit reflecting, and I would say the number one thing is on your lesson plans, where you know you're going to go back the next year and look at things to see how you did things. Write yourself lots of reflection notes, even if they're just a few sentences here and there. Why did this work? Why did this not work? What would you change? This actually took longer. Allow more time next time. Oh, I had to move this over here because. Those little reflections are key. Also, sometimes it's hard as a new teacher to go in and ask for help and to seek out that. I'm not a really assertive person typically, but I have found that moving into a new team, like even this year last year I moved into a new team that had worked very closely together and hadn't had a new member in quite a while. I just had to put myself out there, ask for suggestions, and really open up, share my ideas, and get new ideas. And we're a much more cohesive unit this year, and I would say that's very important.
just to keep in mind that each child is individual, and there are things that you can do to help their needs. Sometimes it seems overwhelming because you have so many and you're focused on the group. But we do need to take into consideration each child and their needs.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Jan.
I think the biggest thing is just getting to know the students individually, and then there's nothing that works for everyone, especially with students with all students, but with students with special needs, where they need something more, or they need, a little bit of help. So just get to know them really well, individually, and then give them what they need, whether it's, just keeping them in for 5 minutes to make sure they get something, or handing Colin a maraca or something like that. Just get to know them individually, because you can't really help them unless you know them, know what their issues are.
I think the thing I've learned the most about working with kids with special needs is I've learned a lot more about myself. I've learned that through little ones, I have learned more compassion and love. I've learned more patience, and not just for children, but for their parents and the things that they go through. I've also learned that we set limitations on people because of labels, and we should never do that, because there's some amazing kids out there, and if we label them and put a bar that meets this limit instead of this limit, that's all the farther they're going to go. But you can slowly raise the bar, and as you raise it, they can get closer and closer to their true capacity. So I've just learned that you can't label kids, because they're amazing, and they're children of God, and they're just bright spots in the universe, and we need to just love them and help them, and with a lot of love and a little bit of encouragement, they can do amazing things.